up, everyone? This is STORYHIVE on location in Vancouver with Vancity, Beats, Eats, and more. My name is Kazi, and we are broadcasting live on the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations, what is colonially known as Vancouver, BC, and what we like to call Vancity. If this is the first time you're tuning in on the show, we interview the creatives, the artists, the people who make the heartbeat of this city. And I'm so stoked to be here at VS Creative Labs. What's up? Today's guests are the powerhouse team behind VS Creative Lab, a vibrant arts and culture hub based in Vancouver that's making serious waves since launching in March of 2024, which was just last year. Happy anniversary. This space, co-founded by Dave, MJ, and PJ, has become a home for performers, artists, and cultural change makers. Through inclusive programming, live shows, workshops, and community-led events, VS Creative Lab is all about amplifying underrepresented voices and creating space for real connection and collaboration. From breakers to DJs, comedians to film and photography, they've welcomed it all, while also championing BIPOC creatives and cultural storytelling. Please welcome the inspiring team behind VS Creative Labs. I'm so excited to have you guys on the show. Thank you for agreeing to want to sit down to share about your story. I told you not to get into this before we started because I wanted to save it for the show, but 15 years ago, the exact three of you, it was on my 21st birthday. You hosted my birthday party at the original place that you had called Box Studios.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, this is a full circle moment. Please tell us the origin story of this space.
We got married. So MJ, when we had the box, we were both single, but there got engaged, got married. We had kids. PJ got married, got engaged, had kids.
Yeah.
And I think we're at a point now where we were like, okay, maybe it's time.
We always talked about
Yeah, we always talked about having a space again, and we started looking around. And then, my brother passed away, but he was a very big supporter of Asian arts, especially Filipino arts in Toronto. And he helped launch many artists kind of getting to that next level. So DJs, musicians, actors, comedians. And in Toronto, they have a food art kind of culture, right? So a lot of chefs.
Yes.
They kind of all got launched through his old bar space.
What was it called?
Cold Tea. So it's Cold Tea Toronto.
What?
The OG. Yeah,
Like
Cold
the
Tea.
one in Kensington
Yeah.
Market? That was your brother?
Yeah.
Stop. I had no idea.
Yeah. So you've been there.
When it first opened.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they developed the Sunday, basically the barbecue Sundays. It was Cindy's Day Off. So originally, they had this really nice lady who was a dim sum cart saleswoman.
Yeah.
And that's how you knew you found the bar. You'd look down this hallway and you'd see this woman in a bow tie selling dim sum from her cart. And then if you look to the right, that was the entrance. And so they would call it Cindy's Day Off on Sundays. And they would bring in, every Sunday they bring in like the chefs from Mumufuku would come. And they would make barbecue and they would get like live DJs starting from scratch. It was like DJing there. And it just became like this thing in Toronto, Sunday day party. And now
Iconic. People dancing on top of
now
picnic
they
tables.
have they turned it into that one that's like on the pier. So now it's like even bigger. Now they've moved it after he passed away. They've kind of done it off the pier, and it's a thing now. Sunday barbecues is a thing now, right? And that was because it kind of came out of that.
You mentioned the story. You told me the story a while ago when your brother came and we were just started the box and we were like, we don't really know what we're doing. We were looking for performance space, right? We were doing comedy shows, and every time we do it at a bar, it's like we're doing all the work and the bar's just making a ton of money in drink sales. And so Dave was like, why don't we just find our own space? And so you were driving around in like random warehouse districts and there was just a sign on it. And it was like $1 a square foot. Yeah, it was like $1 a square foot. Wow. And then you called me. It's like, hey, let's go look at this place. And we were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. We were super nervous the whole way through. But then I remember when the first time your brother showed up there and you were telling me, he was like, oh, you guys are doing it. You're making it. And we were just like, doing what? Making what? We don't know what you're talking about. But he just like believed in what we were doing from then on, and then went to start his bar and kind of used some of that mentality when he was starting his bar too as well. So yeah, he definitely has lived in our spaces for sure.
How long did Box Studio last for?
I think about 3 or 4 years. We had it from like 2008 to 2011.
Yeah.
And then that was when we got married. And I was like, well, can't work those days anymore. Because we would, because we were working crazy. Because we both worked day jobs.
Yeah.
And then I would work for this live show that was filming. So I was working on the crew on this show. And so on a Friday, I would work my job, get off at 2:33, drive out to the studio, shoot that show till 10. PJ setting up our studio, come in, we'd have an event there till breakfast.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Wake up.
Well,
At
it didn't
that-
start.
Replay.
We wanted it to be.
Now, starting up a space again, what has inspired you 15 years later to do this again? And also, what are you doing differently now?
I think since we've had the box, or the box has been there, I feel like we always have talked about it. So I think we've always just been like,
A matter
we
of
just
time.
gotta find a time, like when the kids are older, or when we there's gotta be a time. And then last year we were just like, Dave was like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. And he found the space, and we just didn't know what to expect, similar to when you guys opened the box, and we kind of let it grow organically again.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of this magic, or like if you think of what's behind it, I always say you kind of just have to let it become whatever the city wants, whatever the community wants it to be. We're here, our mandate is basically to cultivate diversity within the arts, to support BIPOC artists in the arts. But what that looks like is up to everybody else. So whatever they come with, we try not to say no. We try to say, okay, how do we raise the bar on that? How can we kind of elevate whatever you're doing so that mainstream media or mainstream people will see it and love it just like they love everything else? Like, how do you do that? That's kind of like, so you really stress that. Everything we work on. Like, even PJ yesterday, he was saying he worked with these photographers who are great photographers, but pretty green, and PJ just guiding them through the process of like how to actually use a light and things like that. It just is amazing, right? Because now these people have more skills, and the next job they do, they're going to bring that to the table.
Because no one did it for us, right?
No.
When we opened the box, nobody else did that. It's like Dave just had the idea. We found a cheap spot. We kind of had nothing to lose. We're like in our 20s and, whatever. And so we just did it. And so, there's not that opportunity. People aren't really doing that here. And so when we opened this space, we wanted to focus on that, first of all, because when we had the box, it was like, we just got to make rent. So it's like, we're doing after hours, we're doing random parties, and it wasn't necessarily, it didn't end up becoming what we wanted it to. But with this space, we were really focused on, let's keep it an art space and not just kind of necessarily chase the money to stay open. And I'm glad that we did that, because every time someone came in here for the first time, that's the first thing that they would say. Can I have a party in here? Can I have a party in here? And we just avoided it because we just wanted to concentrate it on being an artistic space. And it paid off, because that's the main people who are coming through here now, right? Is artistic people. And the mandate is just to level up people, right? We haven't been in a studio for 10 years. We were talking about this the other day, and it's like, was that much really changed in 10 years? Not really. Okay, so how can we re-enter this environment and just level up the bar? We found that we brought in a teacher, Dave brought in a teacher from LA Groundlings teaching comedy. And it was hard to get people to engage with that. And we were like, dude, a guy from LA from Groundlings, that's a huge school. How can we level up? And I find that in Vancouver, a lot of times it's people are just doing it as a hobby, a lot of hobbyists. And we're like, no, there's talent here. There's a lot of people and there's amazing talent here. Let's just all raise the bar and get to that next level. And so that's what we've been all about, is how do we help people get to that next space, right?
Oh, there's so much in what you just said, because I feel like y'all entered a time that is so clutch in terms of we've seen a lot of arts and cultural spaces come and go, and it's a real struggle to stay afloat because of rent, because of the cost of rent, not just creative space, but also housing and living here. It's a very expensive city to live in. And so for you to emerge during this time, and also with the fact that you've had 15 years, or, you know, since that party, but like a decade.
That party was what sparked it. Let me change everything. After that party, I realized I need to meet up with her once again. I don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah. But essentially from there, like, y'all had like professional experience, real life experience, becoming parents, you know, and also just like financially not having to rely on this space as your income, but y'all having your own professional careers outside of this to then bring back and share with the community that's on the come up. Like, I think it's so dope that you took that time and space and that you came back. So what has been some of your most favorite things that you've seen come into this space, especially in the year?
Oh, man.
A lot.
So much.
I think, like, you know, what PJ and what PJ and Dave were saying, we're kind of helping people level up. I think at the same time, we're seeing things that are new to us, and we're learning from other people too.
Ooh, like what?
And I think just, you know, the talent.
We had 8 Filipino-Canadian artists from all over the country represented. I've never experienced something like that before.
That was amazing.
And to see how great the art was too, just like stuff like we hosted multiple art shows at the old studio, and to see what this has become, you're like, oh man, this is like pretty sick. And one of those artists was from Tondo, and like he created this piece that was just like representative of that area, and I was like, man, that's next level. So yeah, I think stuff like that totally blew my mind.
Yeah, because you know, we're coming 10, 15 years out, and we're actually seeing what's happening now. It's amazing. It's great.
The dancers have been cool. Like, it started off being like a breakdancing session on the Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And
Shout
then
outs
now
to J-Lo.
Yeah, shout out to you. Started that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then now it's kind of like all styles. And they did Southern Trap.
I heard about
session
this.
down here. That was sick. It was packed in here too. It was super sick. So yeah, I don't think we expected that necessarily. We didn't expect dance because we come from sort of like stand-up comedy, so we were kind of going that route. And we haven't had any of that in here. You know, like a lot of more traditional artists. The art classes, when we first opened, there was a lot of people teaching art classes in here. Yeah, like Dave said, we just kind of opened the doors and then just saw what happened, and people are like utilizing the space for pretty amazing things.
What are each of your creative backgrounds that you're bringing to VS Creative, and like what your roles within this space?
Well, Dave and I were actors. I dabbled in improv, but I was never overly good at it, but I enjoyed it, liked doing it, and sketch comedy. I don't think I was that great. And like doing sketch comedy, like growing up doing comedy and stuff like that. And then acting. I did a lot of film and television in Vancouver here. Yeah.
My background is it's really just marketing.
Which is creative. Super creative.
You know, I like having ideas and kind of like having a space to be able to kind of do those ideas, and people that are, you know, working with people that are interested in helping me with those ideas. And the art shows are really fun. Like, you know, I think it's just fun to be able to have a space to just get creative. And, you know, there's a lot of times where you're working with not much, so you kind of are forced to think outside the box, which is really fun.
I mostly just sweep the floors and take out the garbage.
Important, necessary, vital.
Just going to my roots. It's coming to the roots. But yeah, no, I also I try to bring in the people, like bring in the people to come see the space. I try to like look out there for people we want to work with and come in and try to get them to kind of feel the space and see what they can do. And that's kind of my thing. And yeah, I think it's kind of working.
It's working. It's great. And it's showing me that things are popping, like things are happening here.
I think that's the hard thing, is that there's so many, you know, I think this is true for the whole city, is that there's so much talent that like, it's so hard to share that with people. Like, it's like, no, like really you should come because these artists are great. Like I felt that way about that Fields Entertainment show. Like these artists were amazing. I don't know what your experience is with the city as well, but it's like just getting people to come out and like support local artists, and, you know, kind of get outside your comfort zone. Like, you know, try something new, like try going to a new event. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's it's great that we have different groups coming through the space, which is nice, but it's like, how do we get everyone that's using the space to come together at the same event? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's one of the goals that I'd like to have for this space.
Well, I think that's what's awesome about public space events.
Yes.
Because it exposes people just by people coming by upon happenstance.
Yeah.
You know, like that has been the success of Public Disco and previously
Yeah.
Vancouver Mural Fest and Winter Arts Fest is because it's just visually there. Everything that is from the underground, because a lot of people, their complaint is like, oh, I don't know what's going on, or that, you know, a previous complaint would be that Vancouver feels so cliquey, it's hard to get in, it's hard to feel warmth, but it's just a matter of actually running into the right people that is on your frequency and that is like creating art or is doing the art that speaks to you most.
I just want to speak on that. It's something we're finding too as well, is I think there's a lot of people who have that like inner artist inside of them, but they're like afraid to bring it out. And as a result, they don't necessarily support the communities. But we've found so many artists when they come here, they kind of take a risk, they take a chance, and they come here and do something, and they don't realize that we're here to actually support them. Like, they're almost shocked when we're lighting set up. They got the camera set up when they're doing their first art workshop they've ever done before. You know what I mean? And it's got like overhead angles, like it's done well to make them look good. And they're like, oh, wow, I can actually do this. I can do this. And that's been a mandate for us, is like, make artists, even though it's like closet artists, realize like, no, you can do this more. And we're going to help you make that happen more. Giving people the tools so that artists that we all have inside of us, like, take a shot. We're here to support you to make that happen. We want you to make that happen. And I think a lot of times people think everyone's in their own bubble, that they don't think that there's actually people who are going to help them. They don't think people are going to actually like step up and like make them do good and believe in them. And so I think that's been the magic of this space, because people are always blown away when they come in here that, oh, wow, you're actually supporting us.
I'd love to hear from all of you, actually, because, you know, to me, you're like Kuya and Ate generation for me. And you're seeing like the come up of Gen Z and Gen whatever comes after that. Like, what are you noticing in the time and climate that we're living in? Like, how these young creative people are being nurtured that maybe you didn't have growing up?
I feel like, I mean, when I look at like our kids and, you know, some of the younger people coming through the space, they're just taking risks, which is great. And they're kind of, they're already confident. Yeah, I feel like it's almost like, I could compare it with how I grew up, where it was like, you know, you didn't feel really supported.
Yeah, it felt more competitive.
Felt competitive. You kind of couldn't really talk about it because you're like, oh, well, I do this, but on the side, I do this. Yeah, I feel like they're more confident. Like,
and
they're
I think
really...
too, we're like parents. Our parents were immigrants, right?
Yeah.
So we're like that next generation, and then our kids are the next generation.
Yeah.
So, you know, our parents just like struggled to get here. They were like, and they kind of saw that, you know, education is a way to move yourself up in kind of the ladder, economic ladder, financial ladder. And art, unfortunately, you know, in a lot of parts of the world, especially in Asia, like, it's not going to make you money, you know. In places like the Philippines, where I'm from, MJ's family's from, and you know, it's like a social, you know, your parents are rich, so you become an actor, you know. Like, it's very hard to come from like nothing to become an actor in the Philippines. So they don't think of that as it's almost like an aristocrat type lifestyle, an elite lifestyle to be in the arts or something. Whereas here, it's different. You know, art is embraced. You can be an artist.
It's an option now.
Yeah, and you see young artists coming up, and you're like, this is amazing, right? They're fearless. And I think, too, even the way they socialize, some people, you know, there is a way, it's like, you know, we make fun of the phone life and everyone's on the phone. But I think it's pretty cool the way these kids look at each other and the young people look at each other. They don't judge the way we used to judge, you know, like we had to like, girls had to wear short thing, halter top, you know, all these like things. And, you know,
Not to say that still doesn't
it still does that, but it also, there's like girls that wear giant baggy sweaters and they're the most beautiful people in the world. And people, I find that young people, they're looking for something else, you know. You know, they're saying that the nightclub scene is kind of dying. in a way because of stuff like that. Because young people aren't looking to get gross and wasted every weekend and trying to have random hookups. They're actually trying to have regular interactions, social interactions with each other, which I think is cool because that does help flourish an art scene. Right?
It's true.
Isn't an art scene isn't crazy when all the clubs are going crazy?
That's true,
You know?
because a lot of the, with this space, a lot of the events happening, they're like, some people want to have parties, but for the most part, it's like anytime it's an event, it's because it's a community building event. Like whatever it is that's coming through here, it's a community event. And so I think, what Dave was saying, where it's like people are just looking for interaction and connection, and maybe that's because of COVID. But yeah, a lot of some of the groups, like there was a group last week that was like, oh, we're kind of having a networking event because people don't know how to network.
Yeah.
And so I think there's ways to kind of, there are just ways to have events where it's now just like community building. A lot of the stuff coming through the space.
Yeah, I found that they don't really care about the details as much. I think especially in film and television, right? Like everything's more accessible for them now because everything's on the internet and they can just create things for YouTube or whatever. So they don't care as much about the lighting or all these different things. But we grew up watching, like, you didn't get it on TV unless you were on a like big budget show.
Yeah.
Now there's YouTube and it doesn't really matter anymore. And so that's been impressive for me, is watching them just be like, oh, we don't have what we need, but who cares? Just do this, do that. Good enough, go. And they create some amazing art and you're like, that's not technically right at all, anything that you just did there. But I guess it looks okay. Like they don't really care about the details as much because the barriers have disappeared and they can just create whatever they want now.
10 years ago, 15 years ago at the box, like we wouldn't be able to live stream something like this. We didn't have the equipment. The equipment was quite expensive. You couldn't film from your phone back then.
Literally, Sean and I were just talking about this on the way here about like, tell me as a kid that, watching TV, like one day there's going to be, the phone, pull the cord up phone. It's going to have a screen on it and and a camera, and you're going to be able to broadcast live to everybody else who has one of these, and everybody else has one of these. That's like,
That's pretty mind-blowing.
my 7-year-old self would be like, what are you talking about? Like, can I three-way call? Like, know?
Yeah.
Is there
Beat it, beat it, pop, beat it, beat it. No, three-way, you'd have some weird beeps when you called three-way.
Or you're like, you hear it and you're like, get off the phone to your little brother who's like trying to listen in on your phone call.
That was me.
Oh my God.
Totally do that.
Okay, why VS Creative? Where did this name come from?
Yeah, I mean, it's birthed kind of originally, it was a sports term. So the Detroit Lions or the Detroit Tigers was maybe 5-10 years ago or longer. They were in a playoff hunt and they were an underdog. So they made these shirts saying Detroit versus everybody, right? And that was like a thing.
Yeah.
And then Toronto really adopted that. And Toronto used to come with shirts, Toronto versus everybody.
Because that's
you
actually
saw
true.
the shirt, right? And that came from Detroit. So my brother, he had the bar, and he wanted just versus. He's like, no, it's not that, it's us versus everybody. And that's kind of that term. So it's like us, meaning when you're out there and you're a struggling artist, and especially for us, we're like, minorities out there fighting your family history of like parents wanting to be lawyers, doctors, nurses, fighting for auditions when you go out there and you're like, my friends who are, colonials, they're getting 50 auditions a week and I get 5 a year.
Yeah. And you want me to be Mexican on the show.
Or even like we used to do commercials and they would never cast like two Asians dating in a commercial. Because like no one would watch that, or that's not, it's not believable, or that's not profitable, or they'd never put like me, a colored, with a Caucasian girl, because they're like, well, that's the dream is the opposite, so you don't put that together, so we're fighting to be like, no, but I can date whoever I want, I can be with whoever I want. And so it's kind of like that. It's like, really when we meet in this room, when everyone does their work in this room, all the artists, all the creatives, it's them versus everybody until they see us, right? Until we can have spotlight on our own network or create our own films or have art shows at the Vancouver Art Gallery or Toronto Gallery, like that's it, right?
What do you feel is like, I guess, your biggest dream or ambition or goal for this space?
Stay open.
Stay relevant.
Yeah. I think what I would love is like, because everyone who makes it in whatever industry they're in, they don't rep Vancouver anymore. It's like they go to LA or they go to New York, and it's like only people from Vancouver know they're from Vancouver. You know what I mean? They don't talk about it. They don't rep the city. And so that's a big thing for me is like, let's rep Vancouver. And I want people who go to that next level, that go to LA and New York, have them say, oh, I started here. You know what I mean? And lots of people like that who got to that next level and they, shout out us and be like, hey, it started here because us three older starving artists trying to make something happen, they helped lift that person to the next level and just rep this city. That's a big thing for me.
Could we make something that is Vancouver, that's like authentically Vancouver, that speaks to the multiculturalism, the beauty and the diversity of our people here and the voices that we have? And I'm hoping maybe one day, even if it's not through this, that we get to see that. And maybe we just have a little, just something that helps get to that place.
That's dope that you said that. I recently just saw some of my friends. I don't know if you've heard of the group Nada. Some of the girls have been on the show. They're a 5-piece hip hop R&B group, like bringing it back to like girl groups, and their music. The hard way. Yeah, their music is so good, and a few of them actually just went to Beat Cave, which is like a music camp. Okay. And they went to LA to connect with other artists, but there were a bunch of Canadian musicians, rappers, MCs, music producers that went. And, it was like a weekend camp. They all collaborated, they made music, and then they performed and presented it. And just like seeing their stories online, one of the things that one of my best friends, Larissa, who is in Nada, amazing vocalist, also a community events organizer, she had posted her stories and then wrote this post where she was like, this camp was so amazing, but I'm just going to be real. Like the talent that pulled up and really showed out was from Canada. And she's saying the exact same thing as you, PJ, which is like, I'm so tired of people denying Vancity, like rep us, There's like enough talent coming out of here, and that I think we're in, maybe it's like a new golden age era, of talent emerging. Also that like there's so much of like the Black artist community that has been like, where are the Black people? And now they're coming together and / more are moving here and really organizing, that it's creating a new demographic.
Years, like when we started when we started 10, 15 years ago doing the box, like that's what the mentality we had. But here we are 15 years later, it's like, we all know it's here and it's brewing, but like, let's just like, how do we, turn it? Yeah. How do you just like turn to that next level?
This becomes the place that people come to, like, cause people go to Toronto, people go to Montreal, people go to LA, people go to New York. But like for people to be like, I'm coming to Vancity, and also call it Vancity, okay? Reppin' all day. But like that they're coming here and for something specific. And I saw little inklings of that with like Kristen, aka Catchflow, who threw Obsidian Jam. She also just threw, and like one of the new categories was the Afro Styles battle. And like that brought in talent from around the world. And it was like, I saw that, I had like a premonition type feeling, like that's so Raven moment where I was like, this is gonna blow up. Like people are gonna come here for that,
Vancouver's where the hype is. Vancouver's growing. We're on the grow. I feel like I'm from South Africa. I feel that way with the music industry in South Africa and all this Afro beats, all this stuff coming out of South Africa. People going to South Africa to record their albums because that's where the talent is. The same thing. Can we do that here in whatever field? I don't care what field it is in the arts, but people are coming here because this is where it's happening.
Yeah.
So I totally feel you on that for sure.
Y'all, the hour is up. This is
wow.
really
We didn't even
get to the photos. We didn't get into the photos.
We should do
We
some
did-
photos anyway.
We should do some photos. Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do
Sure.
it real
Maybe
quick.
fade out as we're walking to the photo.
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Bring it to yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this has been amazing, y'all. I'm so stoked that we got to
Do I still
hang. Yeah, I guess so.
keep
I'm gonna walk backwards
Oh,
here.
I'm gonna get, sorry.
We didn't even tour the space. It was just getting caught up in chat, chat, chat.
in the picture.
We gotta do round 2, I guess.
Wait, what happened to the microphone?
Sorry,
MJ
I
has
have it.
She's just bringing.
So,
Hot to dip.
MJ, since you have the mic, show
Yes.
what is the space? Tell us about the space. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is.
Space.
You know,
What
I
are we
feel
doing
like
here?
PJ should be talking about this because this is his space. This
Okay,
is like
PJ.
his photography.
No, go ahead. It's...
I don't know any of these.
This is a white sheet of paper backdrop.
Yeah.
This is white paper photography at Versus. We have white paper.
This is where we do the square dancing.
Yeah. Looks good with the white contrasts.
Oh my gosh.
With the flowery shoulder pads is what they wear in square dancing. Like flowery.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, we've got like paper walls here. This is white. We there was a photo shoot in here yesterday. So they were using the white, and we have gray and green. If you want to do a green screen, we've got green. And then we can put papers anywhere in here. We have like sort of movable walls that we can put paper wherever you want. So on Valentine's Day, we had 3 sets in here. And we had like 12 different models come in here, 5 different photographers, and we just did sessions for Valentine's Day. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
just shot Casillan before.
Yeah, Chris Casillan was just here doing some like live acoustic stuff.
Shout out Chris
Shout out Chris Casillan. And then, yeah, we're going to do these sets, I think, every 3 months. We have some people interested in helping us do the sets in late May, I think. So we'll do it again. And yeah, there's lots going on. We didn't talk about the space really at all.
Yeah.
So many things.
So many things.
So many things.
In here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Whatever you
maybe-
can imagine.
Maybe it's just like a brief, like, what are the things that already the space is kitted out to be able to host?
Okay, well, photography, obviously.
Podcasts ready.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Art workshops.
videos, interviews, art workshops,
Panel events.
panel events, a lot of mixers, like marketing mixers, social media
Mm-hmm.
mixers.
We've had book tours come by.
Oh yeah, that was really
Yeah,
good.
that was
That
really
was
fun.
actually a highlight.
That was a really good highlight, having the One Box book tour stop here in Vancouver. Yeah, it was great.
Art shows, the artists within Dave's
Art
Art
shows.
shows. We've had music. Yeah, musicians coming in
performances.
there. We have a full setup.
Yeah,
so all the
theater
speakers,
setup.
the sound. We can hook up anything, anytime.
I'm trying to think, what else did we do? Yeah.
That's amazing, y'all.
Yeah, whatever
Slash-
you can think of.
That's
In the
it.
box.
Whatever you can get creative on and
Yeah.
your imagination can go wild. This is the space. This is the place. It's located on Commercial Drive and 13th out here in Vancity, East Van. We're gonna wrap the live stream, but we can do a little,
Yeah.
a little 1-2 photo shoot.
Yeah.
I guess live,
Okay, we
live photo shoot.
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh my gosh,
It's that easy.
so good. It has been an amazing opportunity.
Thank you so
to
much
just,
for
like,
having us. This is
have you guys
amazing.
for the last hour to talk, get to know you, to also just, shoot the sugar.
Yeah.
And have a great time.
Yeah.
I really
great.
appreciate all 3 of you. Very quickly, like, where can people find you on the internet to find out more about your space?
VSCreativeLab.com or at VS Creative Lab on social.
I
Instagram.
think Instagram's our main
It is
page,
the
right?
main,
Yeah,
yeah.
Instagram's probably the best place.
Yo, shout outs to everybody who tuned in on the live stream, who was watching the replay. We really appreciate you. My name is Kazi. This is MJ. This is PJ. This is Dave, VS Creative Labs. And you've been watching Vancity Beats, Eats, and more.